Hello, this is Giselle Silva, and this is my AP Statistics first semester response bias project. So for my project, I chose Can the wording of a question create response bias as my target bias question. My topic was about the amount of exercise hours humanities course students get weekly. I chose this topic because of the benefits exercise has and how it affects you. It would fit in with the humanities study of human behavior and interactions. You might be asking, why did you choose the humanities core? Well, humanities students examine selected topics in philosophy and ethics, sociology, art, music, law, religion, and psychology. That's from the Windsor High School web description of the humanities core. A big humanities focus is sociology, which is the study of the development, the structure, the interaction, and the collective behavior of organized groups of human beings. Another big focus is psychology, the scientific study of the human mind and its functions, especially those affecting behavior in a given context. Since humanities focuses a lot on human interactions and human behavior, this survey could help the students see how exercise affects the human body and the type of behavior it causes. My biased question was, doing aerobic exercise or a mixture of aerobic and muscle strengthening activities 3 to 5 times a week for 30 to 60 minutes can give you mental health benefits. It can reduce your risk of depression. It can help you with your thinking, learning, and judgment skills. That's from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Given this statistic about exercising, how many hours of exercise do you get weekly? My non-biased question was, how many hours of exercise do you get weekly? I wanted to see if manipulating the question would cause any difference in the amount of exercise humanities students say they get weekly. Then I used the random number generator on my calculator to determine what humanities day would get the biased question and what humanities day would get the non-biased question. The number 1 would stand for humanities A day and the number 2 would stand for humanities B day. I used the command random integer parentheses 1, 2, 1 parentheses to randomly generate a number. The number was either going to be the number 1 or the number 2. The number to be generated first would receive the biased question. When I pressed enter, the number to appear was the number 1. Therefore, the A-Day students would be asked how many hours of exercise they got weekly, given the fact about exercise being very beneficial. I used the random number generator on my calculator to obtain a random sample of 50 students. I used the command random integer parentheses 1, 81, 25 parentheses with repeating numbers being ignored. The first 25 randomly selected students of A-Day would be asked the question given the fact that exercise is very beneficial. I used the command random integer parentheses 1, 81, 25 parentheses with repeating numbers being ignored again, and the first 25 randomly selected B-Day students would be asked how many hours of exercise they get weekly. Was my design effective? Well, I think my design was effective because the students didn't know that the other core day had a different question. They believed I was just asking this question as a survey. The students also all cooperated with me and made sure to give me their surveys once they were done. The setup also was not complicated, so I think my design was successful because anyone that was randomly selected could answer the question. It didn't take rocket science. The results of Humanities A-Day, which got the biased question, showed that 5 students got 0 hours of exercise weekly, 1 student got 1 hour of exercise weekly, 2 students got 2 hours of exercise weekly, 1 student got 2.5 hours of exercise weekly, 4 students got 3 hours of exercise weekly, 2 students got 4 hours of exercise weekly, 2 students got 5 hours of exercise weekly, 1 student got 6 hours of exercise weekly, 1 student got 7 hours of exercise weekly, 1 student got 7.5 hours of exercise weekly, 1 student got 8 hours of exercise weekly, 1 student got 10 hours of exercise weekly, One student got 14 hours of exercise weekly, one student got 15 hours of exercise weekly, and lastly, one student got 15 and a half hours of exercise weekly. In this bar graph, there are three different colors. There's the blue that stands for the weekly exercise hours, the red that stands for the A-day students, and the orange that stands for the B-day students. My conclusion was that manipulating the question being asked did change the result a bit. But I think that in order to make a more certain conclusion, I would need to survey a bigger sample of people. The outcome showed a bit of bias with the fact that Humanities A-Day had exercise hours up to 15 and a half, while Humanities B-Day had exercise hours up to 12 hours weekly. Some errors could have been that some people from Humanities B-Day that were randomly selected were absent. Therefore, I had some non-response bias. A way to help prevent non-response bias would be to have a bigger sample size. That way, if someone does not answer, it will not affect the data as much. Another error would be that the students could lie about the hours of exercise they get. Since the question is being manipulated, they can think that more hours are better and change the amount of hours that they actually get. If I was repeating this experiment, I would get about 30 random students from each day in order to have a larger size to work with. What did I learn? What I learned from being a statistician is that it's a lot of hard work, and it's very time-consuming. It makes me appreciate surveys more now, because it definitely is hard to find time for people to take your survey and to interpret the data. I also learned a lot more about the key to success when it comes to giving a survey and the different types of bias I can encounter, as well as how to do my best to control the bias. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed it.